The hoses are back from the hydraulic shop. Some of the ends they reused, some are new. They reused that. Rest are new. This was $600 and they did it in a couple of hours. We lengthened two of the hoses, the ones going up to the condenser. Added 4 inches onto this one and to this one to help with the situation where the condenser is mounted. They need a little extra hose, so didn't want to come up short. That's a size 8 hose, and the other one is a size, where is it? Smaller one. 8 millimeter, 5/16 Galaxy hose, size 6. So those are the hose sizes if you want to go and make these up yourself. We contemplated that, buying crimp-on fittings that you could crimp on with a clamp, but they were able to do it more OEM style. Okay, we're going to do the big hose first. This was going up to the condenser, and now I know why that's an oval-shaped hole, is because you have to get the angled fitting to go through here, and the other end wouldn't push through. So this hose is going to go forward, and the other one has a straight fitting on it, and we'll push that one backwards. Well, we need to feed this one up through all the spots. It has to go first. Well, let's get that pushed in here. The smaller hose we pushed backwards. I have them bolted in place over there. The hydraulic shop put that wear strip on the outside, like a spiral covering. The factory had it in some spots, so they kind of just put it on that whole length over here, which is a good idea to keep it protected from any rocks or any other stuff flying around. A lot of fun routing these. And we got them all bolted in on their clamps underneath here too. Okay, more hose routing. Smaller one was on the outside of the car. That goes through that hole there, no problem. Pops out over there, and this will go to the dryer right over there. Now, the big one that gave me grief on that other end. Look at the, look how close this is. Barely fits. Like I said, it goes in at a weird angle. There. Oil over here. And back. And behind all of that there. Well, let me get that pushed in. I need 2 hands to do it here. And the big hose to the compressor is running way back in there. And then the other one going up to the evaporator is going through that little hole here. We got to come back later and strap everything down in place once we get everything bolted up in its final positions. Compressor still needs to be hooked up. We also got a brand new compressor to install. This is basically a nuts and bolts job here. Got an Allen bolt here, an Allen bolt there. On the adjuster, you got to kind of disassemble it to get the nut off and a little adjusting bolt to come off. So you got the belt off already. Gonna swap this out. We're gonna leave it plugged up for now until we get the hoses routed up to where we need them. That bolt was MIA. We got this one out right now, and this one is jammed up against the pulley right now. Barely enough room to get it out. I'll wiggle it out, try to get it undone. All in, all tight. That bolt just has a really tight clearance on that pulley, and we need to dig up one that's MIA for over there. It's in. We still have it plugged up. There is oil already in this. I think 3 ounces, they said in the directions. So now being that the rest of this system is new and the evaporator core is being flushed out currently, we have to add the appropriate amount of oil for the rest of our components. We got to determine what they are, and we'll be doing that before we button everything else up in here. Got our grommets cleaned up, put them back in. We're going to route this hose now. This is the one that goes to the dryer. I wish these had a split in them, so we could put them in afterwards, but no. So we got to get this end bent through there, through that little loop in there. I thought that was factory. That was a David modification, so we'll put that back through there again and then back out that hole. I got help today, so someone will be pushing or pulling on another end. Let's get this going. On closer inspection on this hose, this is the original fitting that we sent them, but the hoses were crimped onto this. They cut them off and actually brazed fittings on. So this hose is now 2 pieces rather than just being one. We'll have to get our sensors back in. Once we get it kind of positioned, we need the evaporator back. That's getting flushed at the moment. Now let's talk about what's going on with the compressor. It's bolted in real easy. This is a 4 Seasons compressor, a new one. So I don't know if it's identical to the Sandin style. It looks like it's a direct match to it, but doesn't have Sandin's name on it. Oil. This says it had 3 ounces of oil in it, but we didn't know what kind of oil. So digging through their directions from 4 Seasons, they said if it had a pink label on it, which we peeled the label off, that it has PAG oil. So perfect. That's 3 ounces of oil. This complete system takes, I believe, 8 ounces of oil. And we dug up a little VW technical manual to tell you where the additional oil needs to be put. So they want a certain amount put in the high pressure hose, some in the low pressure hose, some into the dryer, and some into the evaporator. But if you add all that up, it doesn't come up to 8 ounces. So I believe we're going to have to put a little more in the top to fill it up the rest. So I will try to post that chart up over here, and we need to do a little bit of conversions for how we're going to squirt it in place here with a syringe or something, but we'll figure that out. We're going to be putting 10 cc's of oil into our dryer. I feel like a mad scientist here. Mwah. Slowly inject that in. Try not to make a huge mess. Oh, we're leaking. Pull back, pull back. Thought that was going to happen. I'll try the other end. We got it all in. Ended up kind of just dripping it in there. That worked the best. We really didn't lose much because we still have this whole volume that's in here, so we'll be fine. Now we're going to add some more to the compressor and to 2 of the lines and eventually the evaporator core. We can install this now, lube up your O-rings. We're putting a little bit of thread sealant on the fitting also. I got to get the right relation. You got to tighten this one up out here and then kind of sit it back in there. It's hard to get a wrench in there, so to play with what angle this has to be at. Maybe I'll get it snug and see if I could get it inside. Let me get that mounted. 2 screws on the bottom over there, and then we could put the other that line on afterwards. The dryer's in place. Everything is tightened up. We still got to put a few grommets back in and some tie wraps here and there to hold everything. We got the oil in that part of the system. Now we're going to squirt a little bit of oil into the other high pressure line going forward. I got 10 cc's of oil to go down in here. Nice and slow. And 10 cc's in the other hose too, but I do not have the adapter pipe here. David took it home and cleaned it and flushed it out. Get a little blow on the end. And cover it up. Compressor already has 3 ounces in it. The other ones we're dividing up among the other accumulator, the evaporator, and the high and low pressure hoses, and then the rest goes in here, and that's going to be 62 milliliters. In the Four Seasons directions, they say they want you to stand the compressor on its pulley end for 1 to 3 minutes in order to lubricate the seal. You know, I know it's been tipped around a little bit and it's not that much longer for me to take it back out again, so I will. And I will stand it on its end for 3 minutes and then I'll put it back in before we hook up these hoses. Ding, time's up. Put it back in. We got our pipe back. We have our O-rings on the back of the compressor. They came with the compressor. We have them oiled up. Now we're going to hook up this hose with the little bracket and Allen key and snug that down. And we have this hose to hook up next. That's all tight. This hose has a little notch on it, so it has to slide in only one direction, so it's kind of like locked in. We got the O-ring lubed. Got to put a little thread lock on there, and we'll tighten that one up too. First, we got to tighten this up too. The low pressure line is going to get another 10 cc's in here. Got 10 in going to the front and 10 coming back this way. Okay, David took this home, cleaned up the whole outside of it, bought the correct fluid to flush it through, and had it blowing air through it for 40 minutes, one direction and the other. One direction, flushed out. So it is completely flushed out, and we need to put 60 cc's of oil in here, and we have a new expansion valve to go on. Which way does the expansion valve go? It only goes on one way. The fittings look really close, but it'll sit there like that. We are going to put all the fluid into the inlet here, this one. 60 cc's, give it a squirt, and we're going to let it probably sit here like this overnight for it to settle all down. Down the hatch. The flushing fluid is hooked up to a little canister that you use compressed air to blow the fluid through it, and then you just blow the air through for 40 minutes to make sure it's nice and clean. We're not even halfway there yet. We got our O-rings lubed up. Our thread locker to put on here too. And it's like 20 degrees outside, but we'll be ready this summer. David's going to be the coolest guy in town. One of the very few that has working Vanagon air conditioning. And how much is this if you could find one?
What's that?
$1,800?
I've seen them for 18. Seen them used for $1,200 on eBay.
All right, that should be good. This is gonna sit overnight because we're gonna continue the rest of this tomorrow. Well, let's take a look at what David did with this. He took this whole thing home, disassembled it all, and replaced both of the motors. Now, to get these out, you have to cut the housing apart. He cut off the base, I guess, over here and there, because it's really not made to come out. This is the new motor with the new housing right here.
I was going to say you could alternately
Remove the tray.
My tray was not.
It was still glued on to the bottom, the base.
It was too delicate to.
And too delicate to want to try. And you have to do a repair over here on it already because there was a crack up a little bit higher up. So the evaporator core, as said before, was all flushed inside, outside. So that's ready to go. Motors are nice and brand new. And he probably spent, over 8 hours on this thing?
Easily.
Easily? Okay. This is what it takes to get the job done. So it was great that he was able to do this. It freed me up to do the stuff on the car at the same time.
Because this is very delicate, this joint here, I want to keep this hose from moving when we reinstall. So I just drilled a little hole behind the clip here and put a wire around it and a little heat shrink to protect the tube from the wire.
And when we put this back in, we're going to hit this with a heat gun just to get them a little bit softer to kind of bend them up and out. So we won't strain them too much putting them back in. So that was done on both sides. Good idea. You can see how when you're moving it around, the tray is kind of moving right there too. So if this has leaks, they'll be leaking into your car. So it's got to be leak-free. And where do those hoses dump? Those hoses actually come down into the vent area in here, again, somewhere in here, and dump down to the side of the car.
They drip inside and cause this rust spot that every Vanagon has.
Yeah, he's got it like rust-proofed, but yeah, it's there. Yeah, it's probably coming into this body cavity. Oh yeah, the dash unit, he worked on that too. He did a repair on some wiring. So divide and conquer. That's the way you have to get some jobs done. So that's going to go back in tomorrow. Like I said, it's calling it quits for tonight. Yeah, let's check the weather outside. The frozen tundra. The evaporator core is bolted back in. Just checking, double checking all our wiring here. Make sure nothing's going to rub or get in the way. And then button this cover back up. Don't forget to insert your probe. Cover it up. A little bit of sealant going on the ends. There was stuff there from before, so putting it back. We got to strap the wire back onto this over here, and then seal all this up when we're once we get the cover back on. All right, we're all buttoned up. We're all sealed up over here. This piece of insulation's got to go on after we get the hoses hooked up. We got to get it positioned in here first. All right, December 86 is when it went together. And 1/22/24 is when it got fixed. It goes back in again. We even put our names on it. Now we got to struggle and get it back up with the jack and the garbage can and blocks of wood. You got it balanced up here now. We got to hook up the lines. And look at this line now too. I just noticed this was also cut off and rebrazed to get that hose to fit. Fit these in place, and then we will mess around with the drain lines. We're going to heat them up a little bit to get, this has to get bent up to go into that hole over there. Same on that side over there. We need to hook the hoses up first. Okay, hoses are all tight. We have that little cover put back on over here. Now time for the heat gun. Heat these up. Got some slippery stuff on there. Hopefully they'll slide a little bit easier. We gotta get the jack underneath here soon also to kind of raise this up some more. or some more blocks of wood and kind of teeter it up closer. All right, blocks of wood. We got the brackets finally up there. David got new brackets. Now we could finally take the jack out and remove this whole monstrosity of blocks to hold this thing up. Oh! And it's up. We still got to do all the wiring and everything too. Calling it the night. Assembling ductwork in a car. We're using our head to install this. Hurry up, tighten the bolts. All right, ductwork is up. Last piece we have to mess with is the one other section over there, and then the whole control panel comes in. And the balancing act of putting the overhead console in is complete. Still got to put the visors on.
All right, I found all the screws.
All right, good.
That's one.
That's 1, 2. Ah! Sucked me in. I used my cheapo vacuum pump to evacuate the system for the first time. All right, we got a better pump going. Four Seasons also wants you to rotate the compressor by hand 10 times to make sure you lube it is going through it. Now, I can't do this at one hand, but I did move it before. Yeah, so we'll cycle that around, and then we're ready to charge it up. It's been evacuated overnight, and unfortunately, I only have this hose to do it with. I can't do it through the gauges, so we'll just be doing cans. The system takes 47.6 ounces, so 4 cans it's gonna get. First one going in. I have to pull this thing outside and get it running now too. Clutch still isn't running with the 1 can, almost 1 can. We're gonna jump out the low pressure switch to get the clutch to work. All right, stay there. Sucking it in. Okay, it's got enough pressure in it to run on its own. It may cycle off and on if the pressure goes up and down, but I'm going good here now. Suck it in, suck it in. Number 3 going in. You can only see the high pressure. We're doing pretty good. It's building up. We need to get a little more cooling of the condenser, so here we go. He needs a bath anyway. Last can going in. We're finally above 200 psi. Last one, hooray. All charged up and ready to go. David's gonna update these fuses. He's gonna put like circuit breakers in and neaten all this stuff up himself, put the covers back on. As you could see, this was a whole lot of work to go through this system to rebuild it. If you found this information useful, please do me a favor. Like, consider subscribing, share this video to other Vanagon fans, because they're gonna need to know some of this information. And thank you for watching. And remember, this is not air-cooled. It's a Wasserboxer.